Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. There's no other end, but they never learn.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of
M.L. Elrick.
You asking around you the questions.
Get your finger out of my face. Get your finger out of my face.
Take the first shot, then if you want to, counselor.
Get your finger out of my face.
It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elrick?
Well, since you asked, I actually do want to go right now. Yes, it is the M.L. Elrick Soul of Detroit podcast. People have been clamoring this for never, but we're giving it to you anyways because that's the way it works. In the city of Detroit, nobody wants to get robbed, nobody wants to get shaken down, nobody wants to get hustled, but it happens every day, and it's a fact of life, and we're going to deal with some facts here. So if you want to follow us, we really would appreciate it. You can reach us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com if you want to send us some suggestions or some mildly passive threats. You can find us online at mlsoulofdetroit.com. Follow us on Twitter at mlsoulofdetroit, and on Facebook, also, ML Soul of Detroit. We're trying to keep it simple, not because you're stupid, but because I am. So thanks for joining us. We want to kind of lay down some rules of the road. I think we don't really want to tell you too much about how life should work. I'm a big believer in you figuring that out on your own. But there are a few things I hope as you listen to this podcast and it evolves that you will never hear us say. And we probably will say it right away. But anyways, the goal is...
Don't plant it in my mind because then it will be there.
I know. This is foreshadowing, and it's very dangerous. We're planting this seed. I don't ever want to hear anybody say, I get it. Because when I hear people say, I get it, usually means they don't get it. I don't want to hear anybody say, got your back, because it's a cliche, and they usually don't. They usually mean they're bending down behind you to trip you. It's like a chop block. No fill-in-the-blank game. You know, I watched some people on TV not too long ago talking about how they had a really strong sock game because they were wearing cool socks. So no games. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to hear anybody say I'm not going to lie because that makes me – so what, are you lying every time you don't say that? Come on.
A lot of rules, man.
We're working on it. It's like the old Drew and Mike. Lots of rules for the call-ins.
That's true.
And,
can you say
Marc Fellhauer apologizes. He's a good save there.
With all due respect. Are we allowed to say that?
That was on there.
Or having said that, or how about I hear that?
To be honest, or to be perfectly honest, that's on there, yeah. What's your takeaway? When did such a thing become a thing? That's no things. Huh. Okay. This is a safe place.
What's left?
This space is not left. We do not want to dominate this space. We do not want to make a difference in this space.
So you want lots of periods, no transitions, essentially.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's our ninth rules. We may not have Shawn Windsor, who you just heard on his office, I thought, because I thought we were going to mix it up a little bit later in the great debate, but already he's contentious. This guy.
I do have a question, though. Yeah. Detroit definitely has soul. Do you?
It does. I do have a soul.
Because I'm not asking if you have a soul. I'm asking if you have soul. You see the difference?
I do. Now, you've never heard me play my saxophone. If you heard me play the saxophone, you would say
you have no soul.
I have no soul. But see, I was just setting up Ann Arbor's a nice, accepting place, and here you come strong like that. You're more of an Ipsy guy.
There you are playing your sax.
I went to school at Ipsy.
We could stand to practice a little bit. But
that's I think that's from the Bill Clinton deep tracks. But yeah, no, I like to think I have soul. I'm a complex individual. I got to have something to sell, right? I've been doing the media for 25 years. I haven't sold a soul yet. Maybe there isn't one. I don't know.
Do you ever get burnt out on busting people, like busting public officials? Does that ever just wear on you?
No, I love it. And when they get really nasty and when they want to try and back us down or try and intimidate, I'm like, you just played the wrong card, brother, because I got enough Irish blood in me that I live for the feud, but not enough Scottish blood that I lose every one of them.
Oh boy, that was deep.
Yeah,
but it
Celtic cousins will be upset about that.
There's so many stories, and you dig so deep that when they don't go anywhere, and a lot of your stories have, obviously Kwame. without a doubt. Virgil, you did Virgil, right?
Virgil Smith, we did some stuff on it. Actually, I've been exposing
Brian
Virgil
Banks.
Smith's problems since before he was elected to the State House back in 2002.
But does it ever get frustrating when things don't go anywhere?
No, because I think, and Shawn, who worked with me at the Free Press for a long time, I'd like to have you jump in on this. But my view of what our job is as reporters is that we ask questions, we get answers, we share those answers in hopefully a compelling way, and then we let people decide. So if people are watching this and they say, I'm okay with this, my feeling is it's sort of like the fool and his money. If you don't mind people ripping you off, that's your business. That's not my money. Like I said, I got some Scottish blood in me. I'm holding pretty tight onto that wallet. But if you want to get punked by the people who are supposed to serve you, it's your privilege.
But to your point, though, about sometimes stories don't go anywhere. I mean, you got to try, right?
Oh yeah,
you got to pull that thread. And
yeah,
a few people are I can't believe I'm going to say this, but a few journalists, at least in this area, as gifted as ML or Mike. I'm still confused. Or is it Michael? I'm sorry.
I thought we worked this out. Your lordship will be acceptable until we know each other a little better. But no, the thing is, I think, I work at Fox 2. I'm a part of the Problem Solvers Unit. I'm the investigative reporter. And while problem solving is kind of a brand and sort of a hook, what I enjoy about doing stories is trying to solve that problem. Who did what? Why did they do it? What does it mean? Is it illegal? Is it improper? Is it going to make a difference? Is it not going to make a difference? Did they keep their word? Did they betray the public trust? And the process of trying to unwind that, for me, it almost gets to a point that when it's time to tell the story, it's almost a disappointment because you've figured it out. Now it's time to figure something else out. It's like, well, now you figured out, you got to tell everybody else because that's why we're here. They don't send Shawn all over the country to cover sporting events so he can have a great seat courtside. They send him because they want him to tell people what happened. They want him to bring some expertise and some insights, and they want him to use his journalistic ability to get behind the story and maybe find out, what people are really thinking, what might happen next, why something happened. Was it the reason the coach said? Is it because there's something else going on? And that's where I think, as reporters, we bring added value to the proposition is that is we can sometimes get beneath the surface and tell people things they might not otherwise know.
Well, you can take a complex issue and really break it down because half the stuff I don't even understand what some of that stuff means. But by the end of it, I know somebody did something wrong, and you probably, Shawn, have the other problem where everybody's a sports expert, and you're fighting both of those consumer battles.
You're right. A lot of folks like Mike think they know what they're looking at, or listening to, or talking about, I guess. But all I know is that I go around the country racking up Marriott points and unlimited chicken finger buffets.
Damn.
Right? That's I think that's why they really send me.
You get an expense account. You're eating chicken fingers.
Well, no, I'm talking about at the arenas.
Yeah, you pocket the expense.
Have you ever seen sports writers?
I have.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to get on a seesaw with any of them.
I barely fit down into this studio.
No, you are a very voluptuous individual. We're in the house of Lane,
Rubenesque,
and everybody knows Drew's proclivities when it comes to female figures. So you fit right in at home. In fact, Drew, we should probably check in with Drew.
Yeah.
Does he know we're here? I know the dogs barked, but I'm wondering is he going to brook this invasion of the Red Shovel Network? Is that what we are with the Red Shovel Network?
It is, yeah. I guess we have decided on that name.
Okay.
It just kind of happened very organically.
Well, I'm just thinking Red Shovel. It's got to be deep. It's got to be like Rosebud, right? Where if you know the backstory, it's just like, aha.
Hey, spoiler alert! Come on, the movie's only been out for 80 years.
Hello, Red Shovel Network.
Whoa.
Yes. Could we get? You guys want smoothies? I'll take a mango with some acacia berries. And Marc, are you good?
I'll talk to catering. The catering department is pretty busy right now, but
I know
we'll see. I'm in a meeting, but I know you guys are doing the first show. I just wanted to welcome you to the Red Shovel Network.
Oh, you're one busy man. It was hard to get through the secretary to you too.
Well, we're in a pretty big network meeting, actually. In fact, I'm going down to the studio. Oh, wait,
It's crazy. There's an echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that? Are we on delay? Can you turn off your radio, please?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
So we had been led to believe, and this is how we drew Shawn down here, that there was some sort of green room with vittles and
What?
Yeah.
Who's our sponsor, Mr. Matt?
You know, being the head of the network, you might realize that there's more than 3 microphones. You can go over there if you want.
Yeah, Drew is
Unless you want to be way off mic.
for credit or for blame, Drew made all this possible. And also
Okay.
while you're here, thanks for the push on the charity hockey game.
Yes. How'd it go?
The kids won.
So you didn't win? Wasn't that the rubber match?
You know,
Weren't you guys both even?
I think wins and losses are so passe.
Is this a game you actually
Says the loser.
participate? You can't skate, can you?
No, but that's why my team always loses. My goal is to be the worst guy on my team, and I surpassed that the first year. Now we're in the 5th year, and I think we're going to raise maybe more than $20,000
Really?
this year. So,
Wow. Did Mike Radtie behave himself? Wow.
since we don't have a lot
That
of
silence
listeners
is
yet-
deafening.
So, the whole game started because Ratta and I had a little altercation outside the federal courthouse at the end of the
Are you that ignorant?
the end of the Kilpatrick trial, and then we turned it into an opportunity to help kids because Ratai, well, he has kind of a big switch that's really easy to throw.
Piece of garbage.
He's got a big heart and he loves kids. So we started this charity hockey game at Clark Park. This year was our 5th year. Every year I try and get my team better. Every year Mike does get his team better.
Ringers?
One year he was telling me before the game, we need to make sure these teams are more even. We got to make this fairer. I said, okay, I love that idea. Let's do our best. Well, that year he came up with a guy who used to play in the NHL. I'm like, well, how did that make things fair? Now, ironically,
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elrick?
we won that year. So the next year, he gets rid of one of the goalies and he brings in some hot shit goalie for his team. So then we got smoked. And this year I really upgraded my talent, and he brought in a kid who plays for Honey Baked, who may soon be going to college for free. So,
What was the final score?
Just spill it. How bad did you get
the
beat?
scoreboard
How
said,
bad did you get beat?
9-7 at the end.
That's not bad.
9-7's okay.
Yeah, but they don't put anything up after 9. So,
Oh.
so I think it was 12-7 with an empty
This is a
net.
mercy rule?
No, I think it's just
Oh, there's not a second number on the scoreboard?
in our fundraising, we're hoping to get a second digit for the letters. And someday we're going to get that second digit. And someday we may even need it. But Mike kind of got bumped early in the game. And depending on who you ask, he got cheap shotted or he was losing his balance.
Some piece of garbage?
It was not me, but I was right behind it. And so
You answered a piece of garbage?
while he was tangling with my guy, I got in there to try and break it up. The refs get in there to try and break it up. Mike's trying to rip off this guy's head and shit down the hole. And just as things are kind
Like
of
Rattay?
mellowing, well,
Piece of garbage.
the many faces.
Don't you just
of
picture him
Mr.
walking
Rattay.
around all day looking at things going,
Piece of garbage.
just really mad at everything.
Yeah, no, it's
Car won't start.
Piece of garbage.
hate and love. Hate.
Bit
and
of a
love.
hothead.
Just like
Can be.
Just like do the right thing with the.
Are you that ignorant?
He's passionate.
But so we kind of got everybody separated. Then one of his buddies came in and wanted to reignite it, so we got over that. But then late in the game, one of his guys, who I actually love, this guy is a prince 23 hours out of the day. The 1 hour he's on a rink, he goes psychopath.
It's his outlet.
But yeah, and unfortunately, the way he expresses his anger is by putting his fist in our faces. But he got into it and he got tossed, and Mike got upset about that. But Mike raised a ton of money this year. He is a tremendous fundraiser, and he has since become a board member at Clark Park. So he doesn't just do the hockey game. He's really involved with the charity and the cause. So it was difficult for our ego, but it was good for the kids. And we appreciate the Drew and Mike podcast helping us get the word out. It did generate some donations to patronists.
Sweet.
So that was great. So
Good.
we've cleared our online fundraising. People like Matt Riley have been generous supporters every year outside of our online fundraising. So it's a good cause. And while my team usually gets its ears pinned back, it was a good time. So we'll do it again next year.
How's the podcast going?
20 minutes in, it seems like you haven't thrown us out. So I'm assuming it's okay. But you haven't heard all of it yet, so maybe I'm being presumptuous.
I think we'll give it a chance.
Okay.
I think we'll let it go.
It'll
for
grow.
a couple weeks.
We'll find our way.
See what happens. Yeah, it's gonna do well. Trust me, it'll do well.
Well, I
Just
appreciate that.
if you got some chemistry down here, it'll work.
Yeah, and I think
Lots of eyes on it.
Fox is excited to be a part of it too. So hopefully we'll get some of that thing that every newspaper executive talks about that doesn't really seem to understand, which is synergy. Sean, how many times have you heard somebody say we're going to get synergy with something and nothing really changes, but they lay off a couple of people?
I actually haven't heard synergy in a while. They're on to new words. I don't even know what they are.
Okay.
It's not even called a newspaper anymore.
The word's stuck at Fox too, apparently.
Yeah, well,
Because I haven't heard it lately either.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Or maybe it's just Mike.
Well,
or ML, sorry.
Before I left,
Who's Mike?
Before I left the newspaper,
Michael, sorry.
Called it. I thought we had agreed on your lordship.
Or is it Mikey?
But or the exalted one, whatever. You get your choice what you can call me, but it has to be something grandiose.
Piece of garbage?
Anyway, back to 2004. Synergy.
That's a very popular one. People walk up to me and say piece of garbage, and I'm hoping they heard that on the radio, not just from our personal.
You two had
comments.
synergy. Can we say that?
We did.
Yes.
If you're going to keep using a word from 2004, go ahead.
Yeah.
I love corporate buzzwords. I think my new favorite one is it's the algorithm. Nobody knows what an algorithm is or what it does, but whenever a company gets in trouble, especially digital companies, it's the algorithm. We'll adjust it. We don't know if they ever do.
How about big data? Great band, but what does it mean? People are like, well, we need somebody. And I spend time at Michigan State. I'm on the alumni board of the Communication Arts and Sciences.
Whoa. Where do you have the time? No wonder it took us 8 months to launch this.
There you go. And they're always talking about big data. And I sit in the meetings and I say, I really hope that doesn't mean anything because I have no comprehension of it. And if it turns out it's the key to our future, it's like if you had to know chemistry or trigonometry to be successful, I would be picking up cans right now. Not that I don't occasionally, but I mean, it wouldn't be a hobby. It would be, a vocation. So I don't know big data.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Big rivalry this weekend, Saturday. Sean, you're going to be
Sunday, no?
Sunday, you're right. Sunday.
I mean,
Super Traction
I hope
Action. Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon.
So I understand
At the Chrysler Center.
that they'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
I'm amazed how easy Chrysler Center just rolls off your tongue now. Like I still have trouble calling it the Chrysler Center.
Well, when you're forced to write something, right,
that's true.
over and over and over and over, you kind of.
Well, I love
even me. You kind of get used to it.
I love how what held Michigan basketball back for all those years was the Chrysler Center. But once John Beeline's there, all of a sudden the Chrysler Center is okay. Maybe it wasn't the building. Maybe it was.
Well, it wasn't the Chrysler Center when he got there, right? It was still Chrysler Arena, and it was dark. And when Michigan State came to town, it was mostly green.
Yeah,
right.
It was awful.
You remember?
I love that. It's been a while since we had any luck.
You remember
there.
how dark it was, though?
Yeah,
it was
it's
playing
totally
in a cave.
transformed now.
Yeah. They actually put students down near the court now, like most basketball schools.
Now, see, I would think that would
and Michigan
hurt.
is a basketball school, as you like to point out.
That would hurt Michigan because the students and the fans are usually the ones where it's like, we're down by Michigan will beat everybody. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill you. They're down by 2 points. Our team sucks. The coach, fire the coach. Get rid of all these other guys.
High standards.
Our academics. Yeah.
High standards, man.
Yeah.
Well, does State have a chance in this game? They got 2 guys out.
Oh, one of those guys has been out for.
Yeah, Langford's been.
Josh Langford's been out for a
Still
while.
out.
But
They have a
Michigan has some
chance.
big guys. Who's that big white boy in the middle? Matt
Oh, John
Teske?
Teske.
Yes. Testicles.
Good player.
Yes. He's.
Of course, State has a chance. Penn State went into Chrysler Center
Yeah.
and gave him a game. Minnesota went in and gave him a game. Indiana even hung around a little.
But they managed to pull it out at home at Chrysler. It just seems like it's going to go the way with foul trouble and who gets into foul troubles. And that's my only – I love Beeline, love him to death. My only gripe is I don't know why everyone has to sit when they get their first foul that early. I don't know why you have to sit with 2 fouls in the first half. It doesn't make sense to me because I don't even remember the last time anybody fouled out at Michigan. And when they've had trouble this year and losing games, it's because Teske is sitting, Iggy's sitting for long stretches, and then Austin Davis is in or whomever, and they get eaten up. Explain that to me.
It's a risk reward. So, and by the way, most coaches do this. So
I feel like he is more on top of that than other coaches.
Well, that's because you watch Michigan more, so it's
true.
So and this is how it is for fans, and I understand that. But it's a risk reward. So you're betting that it's going to be a close game, and if you keep your guy in with 2 fouls and he picks up a third foul 30 seconds later, then it's a lot more difficult to manage in the second half. And what you're really trying to protect is it a 1 or 2 possession game with 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the game, and you want that player, who's usually one of your best players, right, in the game to help you win.
But how many times have they been out, and then the other team just gets this lead that tends to be insurmountable?
That does happen sometimes.
I feel like
there's no question.
A lot.
But they're playing what they feel like are the percentages. I don't know if they're metrics for this. I doubt it.
Could be the algorithm.
Yeah, I'm going to blame it on big data.
So what you're saying is you don't have synergy with this school of thinking.
I don't understand it because so many times I see it. It's like, oh boy, if only that guy was in the game, maybe they wouldn't be able to eat us up inside. Maybe, and it's the only gripe. Maybe it's nitpicking. I love the guy, so
They're not doing too badly. I mean, what are they, 20-3?
7 in the country or something?
Yeah.
high standards.
My only problem with the team, other than their Michigan, is that if Beeline's going to keep a tight rein on something, how about the barber shop? This is the worst collection of haircuts I've ever seen on a basketball
What?
team.
What are you talking about?
Who's the dude who's
Is
got
that
like
how
the
bad it has
flock
gotten
of
now?
seagulls
Where
going?
you're going to attack the team for their haircuts?
Michigan State
I thought
is
you
a
were
barber
up-
school.
I thought you
we
were
take
of
some
the
pride in
moment.
this.
You're not I thought you had soul. I thought you were of the moment.
You probably didn't like the Fab Five socks either.
I got soul coming out my hole, brother. Let me tell you.
Or
I got
the-
so much soul. I'm thinking of putting some on eBay.
God, Mister, get off my lawn! I had no idea. I thought you were a little bit more with it. Can we say with it? I know that probably is
Let me review
Dates
my
me.
rules. This we may amend it like the Constitution.
But can we all agree this is the most anticipated game between Michigan and Michigan State in basketball in a while?
In a while. Mhm.
Maybe
Good long while.
Maybe
Exciting.
less anticipated now by Spartans because we're worried without Ward. Are we going to get smoked? Because I think, what are we, 0-4 against Michigan now? Or we've lost the
3.
last...
I think it's the last 3.
So I thought our last victory against Michigan was actually at Chrysler.
No, it was in East Lansing at the Breslin.
Did they play in the Big Ten tournament?
Breslin Student Events Center.
Oh, student events.
I was on student government when
Does-
we
wait,
had
does who play in the
student
Big Ten?
events
Did they play in the Big Ten tournament?
Oh, I thought you asked if
Almost
Michigan
2 years.
State played in the Big Ten.
Michigan or Michigan? No,
No, I don't think they went head to head.
they didn't. Okay.
Wait, did they play in the Big Ten tournament last year?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, that's
in New
what I
York.
thought. And Michigan won.
Michigan did win. I saw
don't-
the second half of that game. I was
don't
at a deli
remember
around the
that.
corner for the first half. It was
Beeline seems to have
I don't remember any of those.
their number a little bit lately.
Those Michigan victories.
He's won the last 3. He kind of cycles back and forth a little bit. I think Izzo was on a roll with the Valentine teams there. He won maybe 3 in a row.
And
Beeline
he used to
wins 3 in a row.
roll them up. He used to play like SEC football scores on Michigan. He'd get up.
Well, that
to
was a long time ago.
100 points if he could.
You're talking about 15 years ago.
Outside of
about
bra-
5 or 6 years ago.
Outside
That
of
was-
bragging rights, how much do these games really matter?
Well, they want. I think they each want to win a Big Ten championship. So,
Sure.
and that's what's in play here.
Although this year, I would argue
But they're both going to the tournament.
with Cassius Winston, who is
Michigan State's point guard.
they're running him into the
Point that out.
ground, and to me, I would rather be ready for the tournament than play him every minute of the game to win a Big Ten championship. I think that's very short-sighted because I think we're capable of winning the Big Ten championship almost every year, the Big Ten tournament almost every year, and if they gas in the NCAA Sweet 16, blah 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 tournament of what is it now 67,000, and they have 42 play-in games, and then we get to the 64. I want him to be fresh, and there's just no one to spell him. So I think with Ward being out, Spartan fans have lowered their expectations and their hopes for this game. I don't think they see it as important as they would have before Ward went out, and a lot of the hopes are focusing on March 9th when maybe he's back, maybe it's...
He could be. And your point about Winston isn't a bad one.
Oh, there you go.
They do need to.
Write that one
I mean,
down.
they do have to find a couple of minutes here and there where he can rest. But again, it's a risk reward kind of thing. If you sit too much, if you say, all right, well, we're willing to lose this game, confidence matters, momentum matters, especially for 19, 20-year-olds. I mean, it matters in every sport, but it really does matter in a basketball season.
Well, they had the 3 in a row that
They
just
did,
flamed
exactly.
out.
They lost a tough one at Purdue where they were kind of wiped out, and then it carried over, and they didn't play well against Indiana. And it can get out, it can
Illinois
get
game
away
was
from you.
great.
Yeah, right. It can get away from you though. So that's
Illinois
that's the
is
thing.
better than Penn State. That's all I'll say. In terms of losing to a chump in the Big Ten, I'd rather lose to Illinois than Penn
Sure,
State.
if that makes you feel better, that's fine.
But,
So don't you have a question
makes
though? A more of a global question about this rivalry?
So I was thinking we'd get into the great debate, which is a feature we want to have every week, where we have somebody of pretty powerful intellect, someone who's a giant in their field, someone who, when they walk down the street, men salute and women swoon. That person's not available this week, so we'll have Shawn Windsor, and we're going to call this the Great Debate. The topic can be anything. In fact, we'll be happy to get nominations from the crowd. If you have something that you'd like us to talk about, send an email to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. You can post on our website, mlsoulofdetroit.com, Twitter @mlsoulofdetroit, and on Facebook, ML Soul of Detroit. This week, though, we came up with one, and I think we may surprise people a little bit given our lineage here, but it's who's the best basketball coach in the state of Michigan. And obviously we have to deal with colleges because the Pistons haven't had a decent coach since Chuck Daly. But, or I guess Larry Brown. Larry Brown was
kind of won an
coach.
NBA championship, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Skip over that.
Hey, Daly had 2.
Flip Saunders wasn't bad, you know.
Rick
Carlisle.
The late Flip
But skip over all
Saunders.
that by all means. The late Flip Saunders.
Late Flip Saunders.
Rest in peace.
I saw him sitting alone at a bar in Birmingham one time. It just seemed kind of like a sad figure. I don't know.
Or maybe he's just comfortable with himself, unlike you, and didn't mind sitting alone in a bar having a beer. I don't know.
Maybe he didn't want to be bothered.
I mean, who knows? And by the way, in this debate, can we preface this by saying or telling our listener or listeners what you have on what you have on your left wrist?
What I have on my left
It's a
wrist.
Spartan.
Oh, it's a Spartan watch.
It's a watch with a Spartan face that looks with a cheap band, and it looks like you probably got it when you subscribed to Sports Illustrated a while ago. Because I know you wouldn't pay for a watch.
That's
right?
a silicone band, so I don't
You
have
wanted to
worry
get your
about-
mortgage paid off by the time you were 30. There's
So I don't
no
have to
way you
worry
paid for
about
that
sweat.
watch.
You know, I'm not like one of these sports writers who's getting a free chicken fingers. I got to make this stuff last. I can't be.
I get free chicken fingers once a month. Damn. I know.
So the debate is clearly Beeline or
Izzo.
We're not going to throw Mike Davis in there or any of the other coaches.
Who's the coach?
Greg
at Fair
Campy
State?
at Oakland.
Campy, yeah, very.
Pretty
I
good
think he's
coach.
underrated.
I think
Good
Campy says he's the winningest coach in Michigan. College basketball.
Why hasn't he gone elsewhere?
That's a good question. I think he likes it there to some degree. He's also got the kind of personality that's. I mean, he can be who he wants to be at Oakland.
It's so not coach behavior, though. It's always about climbing the ladder.
Oh, for some guys, you're right.
It's
For most guys.
Has he not had the offers? He certainly has had.
Oh, I'm sure he's
some
had
offers.
opportunity. Yeah, I'm sure he's had opportunity. But he's a big personality, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's got his building the way he wants it now, right? I mean,
He does. No, that's a fun
invested
atmosphere.
in facilities for him, so
And they
it's-
pack it, and yeah.
But I would think that once you start making the tournament and you start getting knocked out in the first round, you've got to be thinking, where can I go that I can go deeper? You know, what was my, you know, like I remember Shaka, was it Shaka Smart who was at, was it James Madison or UVA?
VCU, now he's in Texas.
And he passed up a lot of opportunities, but eventually,
did.
and he was a younger guy than Campy, but eventually he went to Texas, which is, you know, big program, big expectations. Is Campy maybe afraid of the big expectations?
I don't
He's
know about
comfortable?
that. I just think he likes where he's at, and some guys are like that.
That's
right?
too simple of an answer. I almost won't accept it. But I understand who wants to keep moving around.
Well, just think about it. We're talking about the best coaches in Michigan. This is set up to talk about Izzo and Beeline, and you rightly bring Campy into the discussion. If you are a coach and you're in athletics, you have some kind of ego, it must hurt to be sort of like, oh, yeah, wait, we almost didn't mention Campy, and he should be part of the discussion.
And look at how Beeline has climbed through the ranks. I mean, it's well known where he started and where he went. I mean, what if he stayed at Canisius forever? It just seems...
Or Richmond.
Or Rich. It just seems kind of...
Or Lemoyne.
kind of opposite of what a coach would do.
Actually, I would have stayed at Lemoyne. That's French for the mine.
Now you're showing off.
But look, I mean, look at Izzo, for example. I mean, he got to Michigan State, and obviously they'd won a title when Heathcote was there with Magic, but it wasn't a great basketball program. It was a good basketball program.
I can't believe I'm listening to this blasphemy.
No, but it's true. And look how long he stayed. I know he's flirted with the NBA a couple of times, but there's part of him that understands he's never going to be able to recruit like Kansas or Kentucky or North Carolina or Duke, and there's certain things you have to do, obviously.
Then don't.
But you don't have the brand. So, and he's, like I said, he's had a couple chances with the NBA, but he's somebody who's thought, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep after that second championship, and I'm gonna keep trying to make Michigan State a national program, which he has done to some degree.
And he's going to mess around with the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers.
There's something to be said for that. Look at us, we're trying to do this. We're hanging out in a basement. I don't even know where we are. Are we even in Michigan?
Yeah, you need to spit out the ball gag next time you come into the basement. It kind of creeps people out. It sends the wrong message to the kids.
I thought you liked that, but
I think the answer to the question of
that's for the green room
of which coach is better is what are you going to base it on? Are you going to base it on national championships? Are you going to base it on tournament championships? Are you going to base it on the success of players in the NBA? Are you going to base it on what they are when they come in and what they are when they leave? Because Beeline's not going to be touched with that.
I'm going to make the football argument. I think you base it on what you start with and what you get out of them. And to me, John Beilein, God forgive me, is the best basketball coach in Michigan right now. He is the Marc D'Antonio of basketball coaches, where he finds the guys he needs, he gets the most out of them, and he takes them far, but not quite all the way. So Izzo, I would not trade Beilein for Izzo, but I think you have to recognize what Beilein has done and say, this is a guy who knows himself, who knows what he can do with
Wait,
talent.
if you think he's the better coach, yet you wouldn't trade for him? That doesn't make any sense.
Because Izzo's pretty cool.
That's fine, but that doesn't make any sense if you think one is a better coach.
I think right now, and I'm taking a snapshot in time, I think Beilein is the better coach right now. But I think Izzo gets better talent. I think Izzo can take
because of what he's built
farther.
It's a false narrative to say that Beilein gets more out of his guys. Izzo did have more talent last year, but most years he doesn't have 2 lottery picks. In fact, I don't think he's ever had 2 lottery picks. Most years he doesn't have a lottery pick.
Where did
right? Where'd Draymond Green go? Who's his best player in the last? He was a second round pick.
Yeah.
Mateen and the forward who ended up going playing for the Raptors.
Peterson.
Morris Peterson.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They weren't lottery picks, right? They were both first rounders, I think, but not lottery picks.
Right. He has definitely had some talent over the years for sure. But look at this year's team. Beilein's got more talent.
You think so?
And even with Ward, I think Jordan Poole's the best prospect.
Haircuts aside,
between the two teams,
man for man, I would take.
Razdekas is already on draft boards. Those 2 guys alone are better surefire. Now I don't know if they'll make it or not, but they have more potential as pros than anybody State's got. Right?
No.
Michigan right now has two guys for sure, maybe 3 guys if you include Charles Matthews, and can get their own shot. Michigan State has 1, and that's Cassius Winston, and even then he needs a lot of ball screens and so forth. Don't get me wrong; he may be of the 10 players out there in any given time, he's probably the best player, college player, but his potential is not.
I don't know. Did you see that 3 Hoiberg hit on?
I did. Don't get any ideas.
He's shooting 1,000%.
Don't get any ideas.
It doesn't get better than that.
Don't get any ideas.
You better stop.
Look,
he's doing that in a 5'6" frame with a fantastic, respectable haircut.
Haircuts. There are 3 acceptable haircuts: high and tight, crew cut, buzz cut.
Izzo's had a tough time in the tournament the last 3 years, and that's what's changed just a little bit. Meanwhile, Michigan's gone to the title game.
Beilein's gone to so how are you saying the one
because
coach
4
is
years
not
ago he got to the
coach?
Final Four with Travis Trice as their best player, right?
And their best alliteration.
Meanwhile, Michigan got there last year with Mo Wagner was a first-round pick. It's not as neat and tidy as, look, I don't think Beilein's a better coach necessarily. I don't. I think Izzo is equally good at what he does.
If you're a player right now, who would you play? Who would you want to play for?
Depends on what kind of player you are.
You're a Cassius Winston, Xavier Simpson. I mean, they were pretty equal.
And in the past, in some ways, you could argue those players should be at the opposite school, right?
Yeah,
Simpson's an Izzo kind of guy. In fact, I was talking to Izzo a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, about this. He loves him. He loves his tenacity and toughness and whatever cliche we want to use. But
that's the next rule. No cliches.
Yeah, Beilein loves and recruited Winston. All right.
So that's you coming out of high school. Who would you rather play for?
It just depends.
I know there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, it depends on your personality and what kind of player you are. I think. People think Beilein's more of a teacher. I've been in his practices; they're a little more quiet and it's a little more studious, and there's something to be said for that. On the other hand, Izzo's, since he had that group of guys that went back to Lucas and Summers and those guys, what is that, 6-7 years ago? He's had teams that are very connected and a lot of chemistry. In fact, there was some criticism. You probably felt this way, Mike, last year with the team that they were almost too nice, too soft, whatever. I always hate saying that about kids that play at that level. It's ridiculous. Nobody's soft, but so I think a lot of kids gravitate towards that with State, and then obviously some to Michigan because of Beilein's expertise offensively, and he gets guys to the pros.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, they don't
and not
do
necessarily
much.
highly recruited guys. What's that?
They don't do much in the pros, the Michigan kids.
But he's taking guys that you don't think are pros at all when they get there. Nick Stauskas comes to mind or whatever.
Yeah, but he just got traded for
3 times
some
in one
chicken
day.
Look,
fingers.
Karis LeVert was on his way to being a borderline all-star player until he got hurt earlier this year. So he's the one. Tim Hardaway's a solid player.
Yeah.
Glenn Robinson Jr., isn't he on the Pistons?
Yeah. No, I get it. But he gets guys.
But they still got contracts.
Exactly.
And Kalen Lucas is on the Pistons, too. So
Yeah, right.
There's the Spartans.
Lucas was never the same after that Achilles, but we don't want to get into all of that. But in any case, they're both really good at what they do.
Now he's in charge. We just invited him in here. Now he's taking
I'm
over.
just trying to tell you, when you're wrong like that, you need to be sort of put down. Maybe not like a dog, but you need to.
So you're saying Izzo?
I don't. I think they're both.
You got to pick one, Sean.
I can't do it because I'm around them both too much. I see what they do, and they're both really, really good.
Okay,
you're really gonna say the guy's in the Hall of Fame who's done all this with not nearly as much talent as you think.
Michael Jordan's in the Hall of Fame. It's not that good anymore.
You know what I mean?
He was terrible with the Wizards.
Beilein's a better offensive coach. Izzo's a better defensive coach. How about that? Yeah. Beilein had to bring an assistant in to help him coach.
True. Yeah.
And this is what makes Beilein a great coach. When Luke Yaklich got there last year, he sat him down in his office and said, "Teach me how to teach defense." He's in his early 60s. He's been to a national championship game against Louisville, right? And he's bringing this young guy in from Illinois State or East. I can't remember. Southern Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. Southern Illinois. Yep.
Someplace in Illinois nobody knew. He sat him down at his office and said, "Teach me how to teach defense." Think about that.
I wish another coach
Tex Winter is
at
dead,
that university
so
might take a page from that.
That's his humility. I know
And
Marc
learn
has
from
some.
his assistant.
The guy across from me has none. But
I'm more humiliated. Let's end this segment on a real easy one. As a sports writer, Sean, which team would you want to cover just in terms of ease of spelling names? You said this guy's name Ukalakilich or something like that, and you got
Yaklich, Brisdikis,
Balsakis, and some other guys out there.
God.
Xavier Simpson changing his spelling.
I love it. The little
Chase
boys
Little
coming
Bitch
out.
is out there in the football team. Speaking of the haircut
Cheap
team,
shot, man.
Well, we can all agree that, at least from our perspective, at Breslin, you sit courtside. You can hear the players talking to each other. You can hear a little bit of coaching, at least on one end.
I'm just thinking,
At
as
the
a sports
Chrysler, you're
writer,
up in
you
the
gotta type
rafters.
Those names, you got to get those names right on the fly.
That's what
typing all
copy
those
editors
crazy-
are for, man. We don't have many left, but that's
left, yeah. I heard copy editors are for filling in, hot dogs. I mean, they're just grinding them up and sticking them in intestines.
it's repetition. You get used to it, even for a poor speller like myself.
What's the coach's name again?
Luke
Yaklich.
Yaklich. Okay, that's not bad.
You could spell it.
Heck of a coach.
Starts with a Y, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't know if it was one of the starts with the
Ends with an itch.
Yeah. Yaklich.
You don't think Beilein's a better coach. You're saying that because you got the chip on your shoulder with the Sparty thing. You know.
I respect
downtrodden.
Beeline. No. I respect.
Well, you said you wouldn't
Beeline
trade for him. So.
tremendously.
Exactly. So he's full of it. He's saying what he's not really believing what he's saying.
So either. I don't think you are either.
It's the value proposition. I'm saying that if I like the way D'Antonio works, I gotta like the way Beeline works. Now I feel uncomfortable putting Izzo in the same sentence with Hardballs, but or as a friend of mine calls him, Hardashian. But yeah, no, I like the way.
See, he's saying that as a knock on Harbaugh, but I think
I can say it more
Harbaugh
directly.
would
Harbaugh
appreciate the Hardashian reference.
Oh,
I think he likes the noise. I think he does. He's backed off of it a lot because it's kind of backfired on him. But I think he likes doing that.
Well,
He's
so now,
constantly
there's
trying.
Izzo likes attention too. Izzo is a very, I think, emotive and very. He needs that affirmation.
Yeah, I don't know if he likes it. I think he needs it. I think
But
that's he needs it.
I think
can't help
that stuff
himself.
with ESPN killed him last year. I think that stuff
That hurt the
got
team,
him
too.
out of his head. It did hurt the team, but I think Izzo is a guy who is used to being liked. He's a guy who courts people, and I think to have the media in his mind turn against him was a huge distraction and potentially crippling blow to that basketball.
And not just the media. I mean, he felt like, the fan base. Maybe not just, but the Michigan fan base, and I don't mean University of Michigan. I mean the state of Michigan.
Yes.
He felt that.
Right.
The night before the Syracuse game when they lost, he didn't prep like he normally would. He was in a bit of a fog.
Yeah, no,
That's not the media's fault.
No, that's not the media's fault at all. I'm just saying that's just reality. That's life.
Frankly, and I keep forgetting the player's name that lived with him as a grad assistant. Was it Walton who had
Travis Walton
had the fight, and he bears a lot of responsibility for acting like he didn't know about any of that.
Well, we certainly don't know how much he knew, but I think this notion of when this crisis happened, that he wanted to address it, and he tried to speak from the heart, and people jumped on him. Whereas D'Antonio said, "We didn't do anything wrong.
Go F yourself.
I'll take 2 questions. Bye. I don't want to take any questions, but I'll take 2. And now I'm done."
And he was not defiant, but he was adamant that he was in the right, and that was it. And it wasn't football season. He didn't have to get up in front of a microphone.
Exactly. Yeah. He could walk
that was
away
huge
for 6 months. Whereas
Izzo's
got 2 a week, and some games in New York and national.
And the national media was following. I mean, I went on the road 3 or 4 times last year for Big Ten regular season basketball games at Michigan State, strictly because of all that. Mm-hmm. And there were national media where I was at Wisconsin, Northwestern, Indiana, and there was national media at every stop.
And at some point in the future, we're going to have to talk with the national media how they don't seem to really be focusing on some of these other problems at other programs, which is not to excuse anything that happened at Michigan State.
There's
It's just to say that this is something that is endemic in big-time college sports. And when are you going to look at UNC and the crap they get away with? When are you going to look at Duke? When are we going to talk about that? When are you going to get really tough on Urban Meyer? When are you going to do all that other stuff? We can't have these sacred cows. Having gone to an agricultural college where we do have a meat lab, find it fair enough that Michigan State gets grilled. But you can't just grill Michigan State and say we've addressed this problem. This is a problem that needs to be addressed throughout college sports. And if you want to focus on East Lansing one year, fair enough. It's a problem. Let's deal with it. But you better start focusing on other problems when you see them instead of acting like your boys who are going to be in the studio with you next year walk to the stadium on water. But that's for another topic, and I think we may have gone over time on that one. But Urban Meyer, meet me outside after the broadcast.
Are you a journalist or are you a fan? And by the way, the issue is the Nasser got conflated. That whole unfortunate is not really strong enough, but what happened with that got conflated with the football and basketball program.
Right.
However,
especially outside of the state.
However, there is the whole issue of a coach knowing within the athletic department and how the athletic department dealt with it. Is it unfair how much basketball and football got pulled into it? Yeah, but Hollis, I think those were great questions for him. I don't think he handled any of that well.
Yeah,
you have complaints from Kelly Clay, the gymnastics gymnastics coach.
She did. Yeah, there were people in the hospital. Or at least in the medical offices that knew, right?
But it seemed like he tried to handle it internally, and that's not the way to handle things. And I can't believe that people don't ever push it up the chain. It seems like that's the easiest thing to do.
Institutions make that mistake often.
Now, granted, football and basketball is going to get the focus because those are the money sports. Yeah. So it is unfair in that regard. But there are problems in the athletic department.
I would just say when you hire one of the top attorneys in the country to study whether you have a problem, and that attorney does not generate a written report, as a reporter, that sends my alarm bells off.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Pat Fitzgerald investigation early on. I can sympathize with Mary Lou Simon saying I run a massive organization. I expect people to tell me when there's a problem. They put it on my radar, and I don't hear from it again. I assume there's not a problem. I'm willing to believe that, but I'm not willing to believe that you didn't know something was going on when you hire somebody to check if there's something going on, and they don't put frigging pen to paper. That just does not. It doesn't make sense. And if you allowed that to happen, then you should have gotten broomed because you're incompetent. It's either a cover-up or you're not any damn good at your job. Either way, we don't need any or more of our tax dollars or my tuition dollars going your way. But now I'm off topic. So. But maybe this is a nice transition to Geek of the Week that we just talked about. Several geeks who probably have enough geekdom to them they could qualify for a decade. But this is a feature I'd like to dive into every week where I guess that's sort of suggested by the of the week suffix, right? But
this sounds very nerdy.
Yes, well, geeky. There's a difference. But we're going to walk you through this, folks. Every week, we would like to highlight someone who has somehow come into our radar, who's drawn our attention for all the wrong reasons, and give them a little public opprobrium, which we think is the least they deserve. We'll always take your nominations at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. You can hit us on the website, mlsoulofdetroit.com, Twitter at mlsoulofdetroit, Facebook, ML Soul of Detroit. And this week, we're casting our eyes to the south, to a gentleman who has the very epic, should we say, Faulkner-esque name of Goodloe Sutton, who is the editor and publisher of the Democrat Reporter in Linden, Alabama, who, believe it or not, according to the Washington Post...
That's a great name.
It is a great name. According to the Washington Post, at one time, he was a contender for the Pulitzer Prize. There's a congressional citation lauding his truly American heroism and dedication to the truth and calling him one of Alabama's finest and most ethical journalists.
Guy.
And there are some great papers in Alabama. He was lionized in the New York Times, the People magazine, or People magazines, people call it, and American Journalism Review, or AJRs, people call it. Now, my man, Mr. Sutton, asshat that he is, suggests that the Ku Klux Klan should go to Washington to clean out. He didn't say drain the swamp, so we'll let him slide on that. But he says we need to clean out Washington. It's time for the Ku Klux Klan to ride again. Now, there's no indication that this was said tongue-in-cheek, although that certainly would not be a mitigating factor. The Klan has the same comedic weight as the Holocaust. If you're looking for...
I think anytime you ask the Klan to do something, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a winning proposition. Tongue-in-cheek, literal, figurative, whatever it is, you're not going to win.
Yeah, this is sort of a,
especially being from Alabama.
There better be a big punchline to save the joke. There's no punchline big enough to save.
But he doubled down.
Klan. Yes, he's not walking away. He says this is what I stand for. So our Geek of the Week, Goodloe Sutton, thanks for starting us off with, I would say, an indisputable Geek of the Week. Really appreciate your efforts there on behalf
Thank
of the
you
First
and
Amendment.
roll Tide.
Does he own that paper that he wrote the editorial for?
He's the editor and publisher, so
he's not going to be in any trouble.
If he's not the owner,
he's not going to fire himself.
He's tight with the owner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say I certainly would fight, not quite to the death, but pretty close, to defend his right to say what he said.
Sure.
His right to say what he said, not what he said. And there's a distinction there, because I believe when it comes to the First Amendment and freedom of speech, you tolerate the extreme to protect the routine, but this is pushing it.
Why can't he just parrot drain the swamp? Because that's really what he meant. It is what he meant.
I guess so, but
I don't want to defend the guy because once again, you don't invoke the Klan at all.
But this kind of goes back to our rules early on, right? For those of you who have been with us the whole time, this whole notion of drain the swamp or clean it out, that kind of comes back to be honest, or to be perfectly honest. When somebody says that, it doesn't ever really seem to mean what they say it means.
No, but it works.
I guess so.
It does. Those phrases work. Make America great again. Those things work. That's why you hear it.
Well, it worked. Make America Great worked a lot better than It's Her Time, where it's her turn. I can't.
Or how about Love Trumps Hate? Which, why would you ever use a slogan that has your competitor's name in it?
Yeah, it's like Pepsi saying even cokier.
Those phrases work. You can.
They do work, but it's partly because you don't really think about them. I don't think folks think about what they actually mean. I mean, because they're deep phrases in a way. What this guy is saying is, let's get the other out. And Democrats, anybody that's not white. I mean, that's what he's talking about. That's what Make America Great means. Let's go back.
But he did say he wanted to hang everybody. He said hang them all, everybody in Washington. So it's not just blacks or whites. Maybe he could realize that. Oh yeah, that's probably not the best thing to say. But then again, he's in Alabama.
But
not everybody like that.
Don't get Shawn started.
I lived in Alabama, and not everybody is like that down
Of course
Alabama,
not. But is he preaching to a certain choir?
Well, yeah. What's his circulation? What did I read? 3,000 or something. So it's a small community.
Yeah, it's like
and
the
my
Detroit
guess is
News.
it's a like-minded community. Probably it's probably a homogenous community, more or less.
And now, for a complete change of pace, we're gonna I think if you've heard me on the Drew and Mike podcast or way back when on the radio, I have a penchant for new wave bands, and I'd like to keep things a little bit diverse, since I guess we all love diversity, and introduce a feature that I'd like to call Room 7609, in which what I'd like to do is bring out a underappreciated or lost deep track, whatever you want to call it, new wave gem, and we'll talk a little bit about it. This feature is brought to you by a grant from the British Hairdressers Association and the pirate shirt, the official blouse of the new wave movement.
There's a hole in the wall next to you. Things with legs are crawling through. The man is searching for the door and you run. You're coming out, you're going down. There's an all-night party in room 7609. La 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 la. You can dance together all night if you've got the time. Move like flies on the wall. You wanna run? There's no space at all. The dance is spinning in the mirror, but you're coming out, you're coming round. But there's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night. Got the time.
So I've invited a special guest and our host of the show, Drew Lane, to join us. Also someone who appreciates the new wave.
I love new wave.
Romantic music. So my
Is
favorite...
Duran Duran new wave? That's my first question.
Absolutely. They're part of the second wave. They were started out as a new romantic movement band and then kind of became, I think, one of the standard bearers of new wave. They're not quite as edgy as The Cure or Depeche Mode or the Smiths, but, you know, Spandau Ballet, which I would say was very soft at the end. Right. But if you hear early Spandau Ballet, it's very edgy, very new wave.
I like the song. My favorite Duran Duran song is the James Bond theme.
Oh, yeah.
A View to a Kill. Great song. But it's not unappreciated, so.
Yeah. No, but...
I wasn't a big Duran Duran fan, and it's okay. I always thought of Duran Duran as that glammy MTV band. I didn't think of... When I think of new wave, I think of Elvis Costello, the punk new wave.
Right.
Costello, Clash.
So now this is why I'm starting with Duran Duran. Very blousy, a lot of makeup, very glamorous, all handsome guys. The bass player would have been dating models, even if he wasn't in a band. And so I think that they are, in general, underappreciated. But listen to the virtuosity, the bass lines in this, that thumping bass, man. And John Taylor, an English kid from Birmingham, it's pronounced Birmingham over there, England, was playing slap bass, not in this this particular cut, but I mean, just they're great.
Didn't he play in Power Station too?
He did, yes.
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
And the guitar player, Andy Taylor, played in there too. Those guys could shred.
I agree.
So anyways, if you have a gem that you like listening to, but you think no one else appreciates it, we'd love to hear your nominations. mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com, mlsoulofdetroit.com, at mlsoulofdetroit on Twitter. Facebook, it's ML Soul of Detroit. You may have noticed there's sort of a consistency there.
Your personal phone number, too?
Oh, yes, I forgot. It's 313-288-9070. That's 313-288-9070. The third caller wins a trip to Hawaii, brought to you by a sponsor who we haven't quite lined up.
To be named later?
That's right. So as soon as we...
Rate the show on Facebook and... Wait, did you say Facebook page? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
rate the show on iTunes.
Rate it
and anywhere
everywhere.
you can rate it.
Yeah, and share
it. Rate it.
Let people know. And if you have a song you like, or if you have a Geek of the Week, or if you have a topic you'd like us to tackle, please send it our way. We want to hear from you. We want you to feel that this show is your show, unless you're a complete prick, in which case maybe we'll just clown you like I've been clowned.
We'll let anyone listen.
Even if you just keep it to yourself and download it, it's okay. But
yeah,
all the sharing and rating and liking is wonderful. It helps.
Yeah, no, we
and following on
appreciate
Twitter.
it. But we're happy to be your dirty little secret. We're happy to be your sideshow as opposed to a side hoe. Listen to Drew and Mike, and then we can be, that little side piece that in those quiet moments when you're feeling vulnerable, you just dial us up and we're there. No one needs to know.
Trying to take Alan Allman's place?
I was going to do that, but I can't quite get that low. I start to crack when I hit like low C.
I couldn't even understand him.
He was so romantic.
It was heavy. There we go.
Maybe he just didn't have the right music to talk over him.
I was always more of an Electrifying Mojo guy than an Alan Allman guy. I don't know if you guys remember
Who's the
Mojo.
Electrifying Mojo?
Electrifying Mojo.
Wait, listen to Alan's voice. Was he just talking?
He was, yeah. He's working on getting sexy, Drew.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually hear a voice like that coming from the other stall, and I finish up and get out.
Time to turn out the lights and say goodnight. My producer tonight has been Lisa Martinico. Our engineer tonight was Jerry Martin, as always, and I want you to stay tuned for After Hours with Dick Shaffron, featuring the music of Journey.
People get hard hearing the credits. Jeez.
And once again, I'd like to take just a second to thank you very, very much for spending this time with me tonight. To thank you for being there when I need you.
What does he need from us?
For those of you in the lounge,
you tell me Electric Mojo was better than this?
Yes, Electrifying Mojo used to have a show called
Electric Mojo.
Electrifying Mojo. Yeah, he would do Midnight Funk Association, and he had a great set of pipes, and he'd set up, and it would start off. He'd say, it's for lovers, whatnot. It's like if you're in your car, flash your lights. If you're with somebody, blah blah. If you're in bed, I want you to dance on your back. He was great, and his show would always start with the mothership would land, and you'd hear air traffic controllers and pilots as the mothership is coming in. What's that? And he'd have this whole build up to it's the mothership landing. There he is. So there was Lover's Lane and the Midnight Funk Association, but
it's intense.
For the members of the Midnight Funk Association.
How many people were in the Midnight Funk Association?
They had cards. I think, at the same time. Riff had the Riff card.
Is it bigger than the Kiss Army?
More lethal. And less makeup.
If you would like to become a member of the Midnight Funk Association, stand up.
That's all you have to do?
Show solidarity.
He's got some rules, too.
Is he still electrifying?
This is the electrification, I think.
Solemnly swear to acquiesce to the prerequisites for membership.
You have to acquiesce.
Association.
I don't know if this worked in the Me Too era with the acquiescing part.
Well, it depends on what the prerequisite is, yeah.
At midnight, will you stand? If you're standing near your porch light, will you turn it on for 1 hour to show solidarity with the MFA?
weather, will you smurf on your back? If you're in winter, will you splash? If you're riding or driving, caught out at midnight, will you flash your lights and honk your horn?
Oh, he does have a lot of rules.
Let everybody know that you are definitely
merely
down in this town. If you solemnly swear to acquiesce to the prerequisites for membership,
yeah, we got that part.
I do.
To the Midnight Funk Association, at this time, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Mark, I didn't get an idea.
Let it be known
I'm
to
so
all of
lost.
Earth that
Shawn,
you are now declared
you do?
a member
No.
of the Midnight Funk Association.
Now who's got no soul?
Now all you need
It
is
gives the
your
association
ID
more credibility when people decline it once in a while.
to receive your free
So,
MFA
it's not
ID
such
card.
a,
Send a letter
joining
to
the crowd
Midnight
thing.
Funk Association.
Oh, Lord. I just hear a program director going, you could have played a song within that time.
Well, he would play for like 6 hours. He bounced around a lot of Detroit FM stations, was fantastic. But he was the first guy to really mix pop, metal, whatever, with
Pillow
hip hop
Talk?
and with soul. He would play he would play Prince, which, a lot
It was
of people
counter
play
programming to
Prince.
Pillow Talk.
I think the decision's been made. I think it's time to put a pin in this one, folks. Thanks for listening to The Soul of Detroit. I'm your host, ML Elrick, co-pilot here, Marc Fellhauer, occasional guest, although if audience reaction is as violent as I feel right now, maybe it's his first and only time, Shawn Windsor of the Detroit Free Press and several watch lists, and, of course, our master of programming, Mr. Andrew Lane. Thanks for having us on, boss.
Sure, man. Kill it.
Red Shovel Network.
Be sure and be with us next week when
ML Elrick
says...
This time it was a wrestler on the skids, a quick change artist in an alley, and a girl with an eye for angles. All met destruction because 100,000 easy bucks caught him in a stranglehold, which none of them wanted to break.